Welcome everyone. This is Debbie Mayberry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You are here for our very first webinar of the month called Living in Place, the New Normal with LaDonna Eriksen. And she is with the organization, her own organization. She's a designer. The organization is called Interiors by Design, based out of Omaha, Nebraska. And I'd also like to thank Gebrit for generously sponsoring all of our webinars. And LaDonna, if you're available, we're ready to get started. Thanks again for being with us, LaDonna.
Thank you, Debbie. And good morning and good afternoon to everyone, depending on where you are located. We are looking at living in place at this point in time. And my screen, there we go. I am LaDonna Eriksen, and just to give you a little bit of information about myself, I have been a designer for over 35 years, working with kitchen and baths more than anything else. I was an adjunct professor for Metropolitan Community College, and I taught anatomy, physiology, and genetics for over 24 years. So if you add those up, I'm really old. But a lot of that time was spent doing both at the same time. I am also a Living in Place ambassador, and which means that I help people to join Living in Place and to answer questions about living in place as much as people need. So you can contact me whenever you want if you have questions about living in place, as well as contacting either Eric or Louie with the Living in Place Institute. So if we get started and talk about living in place, our objectives today is that we want you to understand what living in place really means. And we want to give you some practical design and product ideas that can be utilized in your homes that you are trying to make more accessible and comfortable for people. And we're going to learn how professionals can make the difference in every home. So if we start out first with understanding what living in place really means, we're basically talking about what is necessary to make a home work for a family. This graphic basically, as we've always said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that's exactly what this graphic shows us, is the fact that living in place is making homes that are for everyone from birth to death. It's extremely important that the home works for the family, not just one or two people in that family. We've all worked with in our professions. Many of us started with the concepts of universal design. We've looked at design accessibility, inclusive design, barrier-free design, lifespan design, human-centered design, aging in place, designing for ages, all of these different concepts that have been out there for years that we are constantly seeing this refocusing and looking for, well, we need to design for this specific person. Well, NKBA has basically said that we are collectively moving housing into the new generation of design that promises a bright future for all needs and all ages. The National Kitchen and Bath Association offers us evidence of this movement. In fact, the NKBA has devoted a significant effort to this topic in making spaces safe, comfortable, and usable for all individuals, regardless of their physical challenges or ability. And that comes from the NKBA Living Impacts Design. This statement that you see here basically is from the NKBA Living Impacts Design. And I know you can all read it, but I will read it to you. Living in place often conjures ideas of making space accessible to seniors or people who use wheelchairs or walkers and the person who breaks a leg. Well, that is a big part of it, but a parent carrying a sleeping child into the house needs to be able to walk into and through the space without a tripping hazard. Or when someone is carrying several bags of groceries, it's much easier to use lever handles instead of doorknobs. Design that works for everyone, today, tomorrow, and for multiple generations living in the same dwelling. That is what living in place is all about. It's making that home work for that family. And it's simple common sense. I guess that's what we need to look at more than anything. And I think in our practices, if we come down to common sense with our design, that makes the home more apt to be living in place. So we have to look at the why behind design. And the latest benchmark is that study that NKBA, Living Impacts Design, and that they examined the motivations behind certain design elements. And the design elements that we're looking at here is connected living, simplified living, healthy living. Connected living is not just technology. When we think about being connected to someone, most people think about Facebook and LinkedIn and all of the different media, social media ways that we connect to people. But connected living is also the connection among people. That interpersonal connection now is important more than ever. We have to create a simplified living. That means a lean, uncluttered, organized space. And that helps to enhance function. It transforms that space into a sanctuary of tranquility. Very often, a mess or unorganization leads to chaos in that area. If you can't find your socks in the morning, it's probably because they're not where they're supposed to be. And if you have order, it helps to simplify your living and you're not living in chaos. Healthy living, connection to nature and the outdoors. People have resorted to being outside more during this time of the pandemic. But that is for all times. Making things more natural, sustainable, our creative choices, being able to prepare healthy meals. That healthy living is very important to all families. And basically, this connection, simplified, healthy living is what equals living in place. Safe, comfortable spaces for individuals of all ages and abilities for today and tomorrow, and in those multiple generations in the same home. So what is living in place? Living in place is the only positive solution to make all homes safe, healthy, and comfortable for everyone through education and collaborative networking events. Living in place is educating you about how you can make your clients' homes safe, healthy, comfortable. So what are some practical design and product ideas that can help you change the world? It can help you change where your clients are living. This is actually my home. We just built the home. We just moved in July 27th. And it is the first home that is completely built as living in place. It gives you those ideas those true to life, real life situations. Everything that I put in this home makes things easier for my husband and I to live in. We wanted a no threshold, true zero entry home. The only way you can have a true zero entry home is to not have a threshold. And you can see here that there is no threshold at my front door. Front door, by the way, is 42 inches wide. Makes it very simple for people to enter and exit and to get products into and out of the home as well. If you've ever had someone have to take the door off of your house to get your refrigerator in, you'll understand that having a 42-inch wide door eliminates that issue. But if you don't have 42 inches, 36 will do, but very often you have to take that door off to get appliances in and out. The true zero entry was very important to me. 18-month-olds will trip over that 3/4 inch threshold. 80-year-olds will trip over that. And as one person said to me, he said, yeah, and someone who's drunk will trip over it and fall, because he said, I did, and I broke my arm. And so he was very impressed when he saw the fact that there was no threshold. Now, how you get that is to put in an automatic drop-down door bottom. No company out there, my people, are making this. They are not creating doors with this zero entry and this no threshold. You have to create it yourself. It's very simple. You just simply have to order your doors that are not pre-hung. You put the drop-down door bottom into the door and then hang the door and put it in. And then you get that zero entry, that no threshold. The first people to actually be happy about this were the people delivering things and installing in the home. It helped the craftsmen. It helped the tradespeople, the drywallers bringing things in, the cabinet people bringing things in. All of that could simply be rolled into the house without lifting it up a step, without bumping it over a threshold and destroying that threshold, by the way, because usually that's what happens, is your threshold gets destroyed while your home is being built. So this eliminated that issue. Some of the other things about the house, and I'm not going to go through absolutely everything, but these are some key ideas. The flooring in the house is basically a hardwood floor. It's not a pre-finished product, but we put on a no glare, no slip finish on the wood flooring. You can see that there's a very high contrast between the floor and the white, actually it's panda white base trim, and the wall color is a high contrast between the trim and the wall color as well. That allows for people being able to traverse through the house and be able to know, if they have visual difficulties, be able to pass through the house and know exactly where that base molding is. The other thing that you can see here is that the outlets are at 24 inches above the finished floor. We'll talk about this more later, but it is very easy to access those outlets no matter where you are in the home. And the switches are at 44 inches, which people will often look at this and say, well, what's the difference? Well, they are lower, and it's much easier to access those, not only for someone in a wheelchair, but for children, being able to access those switches. And it doesn't make any difference to anybody else. It's just there. In the kitchen, there are multiple countertop heights. And again, you can see that definite difference between the floor color, the cabinet color, and the countertop color. But we have multiple heights. My sink height is at 38 inches, not the standard 36, because the standard 36 hurts my back. And if I have to lean over that sink a lot, and when I'm cooking or when I'm cleaning up after the meal, it bothered my back. So if I put it at 38 inches, just 2 inches taller, my back does not bother me when I'm standing at my sink or just standing at the regular island working. This part of the island is at 34 inches, makes it much easier to roll out cookies, to roll pie dough, to knead bread. It's at a lower level, easier to work at, and also it's an easy access. You can't see it here, but the other side, there is an overhang on there that if someone were to be seated and working, that countertop height is much easier to access at 34 inches instead of 36 inches. And the cooktop you cannot see in this particular slide, but also it's at 36 inches, which helps to keep spatter of any grease or anything from spattering up into your face. There is wide space in between these cabinets over there by the refrigerator and the microwave is at about 48 inches, but over here at the farthest point, we're at about 80 inches between, which allows for more than one cook in this kitchen, but it also allows for anyone who would possibly have some device where they were having to have movement devices, crutches, walkers, whatever the case may be. The cabinet handles and the appliance handles are a type that will not catch on your clothing and doesn't tear your clothing or get you caught in any way. The under-counter microwave or the microwave drawer is easily accessible for everyone, whether it be children, adults, someone in a seated position. It's just easy to access, and it's much safer than when you lift something up out of the microwave and sit it on the counter instead of reaching up into the microwave that may be over the range and bringing something down out of that microwave that is superheated and can easily burn themselves. The dishwasher is raised just a little over 13 inches off the floor, very easily accessible to load and unload this dishwasher. The lowest shelf in the pantry is at 20 inches above the finished floor. I had some argument about that by the person who was installing these shelves, and I said, no, I don't want it any lower than that. It's that nose to knees rule, making sure that things that you're going to be utilizing every day are easy to reach, are easily accessible. And if you have it 20 inches above the finished floor, you don't have to be bending over all the time getting things. And so, yes, there are a couple of shelves that are definitely higher, but those are for items that you're not going to use all the time. It just gives you that added storage space. The pull-out, the spice pull-outs near the prep and the cooking areas, there's one on each side of my cooktop, and very easy to access those spices and because they are not high or low, they're right at your reach and just right there at hand. This shows the induction cooktop with those two spice racks on either side, but it also shows that there's the French door oven, which is very easy to access anything inside that oven. You're not reaching over a door and much less apt to burn yourself, but also it's much easier to work with that oven. And there is a second built-in oven beneath there as well, giving additional space for using that oven during holidays or times when you want 2 ovens to use. The island is 48 inches between the cooktop and the island, which is close enough to turn around and bring things out of that French door oven. One of the reasons why I did this and put this right where I did was because if you're coming out of a French door oven and trying to land on this space right next to the cooktop, which is, there's about 18 inches of space here, you have to come around that French door oven. That's the only drawback if you have your countertop space to the right or to the left of a French door oven. So all I have to do is actually turn around at this French door oven and place things right on the island, and makes it much easier to do that instead of trying to come around that French door. The hallway is 48 inches wide approximately, and allows for carrying baskets, carrying a child, passing someone in the hallway, traversing down this hallway with possibly a walker or anything, very easy to get through this space. And you can also see here that there are 2 handrails on the stairs. We do have a large basement area. It is not a walkout, and it is simply for storage and for the furnace. That's the only things that are down there. So we don't go down there very often, but there are 2 handrails, so it's easily accessible, easy to go up and down those stairs, and you have the ability to grab either side or both sides in going up and down those stairs. The master bedroom, there are 2 exits from that bedroom, one to the hallway and the other to a screened-in porch. So we can get up in the morning and immediately be outside in an environment that is very pleasing to both of us. So there are actually there's 3 exits to this bedroom, because this bedroom also leads to the master bath. Under the sinks in the bathrooms, I always put electrical outlets. That is for the ability to use either voice or touch controlled faucets. It's also to plug in those powered drawers, so you can put your curling iron or hair dryer or anything into the drawer. And when you close the drawer, those powered drawers automatically shut off the power to that drawer, and that way a curling iron isn't accidentally left on in the drawer itself. So having an outlet underneath the sink in the bathroom makes it easy to add those items at a later date if you don't put them in right away. The other location where you can put an outlet that is very important, whether it be in a new build or in a remodel on a home, is to put an outlet behind each toilet. That is to allow for the personal hygiene toilet seat if people want one. You can also, in this particular bathroom, the personal hygiene toilet seat does have smart controls that are handheld, and then the grab bars and, of course, toilet accessories. I opted in this particular instance for a grab bar, but you can have tissue holders that have grab bars built in, and no one even knows they're there. So it makes it very easy to design a room that is safe for everyone in that room. The shower has a no-step shower. It is 0 entry, and there is a linear floor drain that allows the floor in that shower to not have that center drain where there is just that unevenness of the floor in the center of the shower. If a person has any balance issues or vertigo, they can have definite issues with that floor that has that center point. So the linear floor drains off to the side or to the back of the shower really make it much easier and simpler for people. Again, it's simple, it's intuitive. Also, there is a seat across the entire back of the shower that allows for a person to be in the wet area of the shower and have an assistant in the dry area of the shower. And having a handheld shower available allows for that assistant to come in and be there if someone needs an assistant in the shower. By the way, the floor, the seat, the floor in the bathroom, the floor in the shower, and the seat in the shower are all heated. So it makes it nice and toasty in that bathroom, no matter what time of year. The shower controls are close to the entry, so you can just simply reach around, turn the shower on, and not have to get wet before you have warm water coming into that shower. And right there at that entry by the controls is a vertical grab bar to hold on to while you're adjusting the water and helping to enter and exit the shower itself. This is a Jack and Jill bathroom. And again, it allows for that zero entry, the linear drain, the vertical bar, and the shower controls are just right on the other side of that vertical bar. So again, you don't have to get into the shower to turn the water on. And you see the outlet behind the toilet. Even though this toilet doesn't have a personal hygiene seat or even a heated seat, there's still that outlet behind there in case you want to add that. Some other things that can be put into a home to make it more accessible and more comfortable, wall-mounted toilets. And wall-mounted toilet is a very clean look. You can have a custom height, but you have to set that custom height during the installation. It can't change day in and day out. You have to set that height upon the installation. There's no tank, there's no visible tank. It's in the wall. It's very easy to clean around and clean underneath because the toilet does not sit on the floor. This particular model does support over 800 pounds, and it has flush control for 1.28 and 1.6 gallons. We want to make sure that we minimize slippery floors. Falls are a very big problem in our country today. And to help to minimize that is to increase the static coefficient of static friction. And it should, OSHA says 0.5 is the minimum. ADA says 0.6. ADA ramps should be at 0.8. And very often we can use adhesive traction strips to increase that friction on steps, things like that. But on tile floors, there are a lot of different coatings out there that you can put on. You cannot see them. You can't really feel them unless you are going to slip, because they actually are slip resistant. I've used these coatings, they work beautifully, and a lot of people will use a very high polish on like a marble floor. You'll see these highly polished marble floors. They're beautiful. They are an accident waiting to happen. And so the best thing you can do if you put in those highly polished marble floors or highly polished tile floors, put this slip resistant coating on them immediately, because it stops people from slipping. Even around swimming pools, you can put this slip resistant coating on the concrete around a swimming pool, and it won't be slick when people are walking around there, even when it's wet. It reduces slipping and falling. Now, high contrast colors we've talked about. We've talked about that high contrast between the floor and the wall. the high contrast between the cabinets and the floor, the cabinet and the countertop. High contrast colors can also create fall hazards if they're put in the wrong location. This floor, yes, it's fun. It's kind of a wild idea in a floor in a store, but it can also make people fall because they think they're having to step down or step up, and will cause definite a fall hazard. This parquet floor that has dark and light areas, again, it's beautiful to look at, but when you're walking through there, unless you understand that floor, people can be trying to walk around those holes in the floor as they may see them. This I would definitely say is a staircase that is, again, an accident waiting to happen. You can't even really see from one step to the next, and it definitely creates issues in trying to go up and down those stairs. And this, again, is the hole that you're going to step into. Difficult situation on a floor. Nice accent, but not a good choice. We use that color contrast to improve safety, not make it worse. Like I said, the counter edge, the stair step edge, so you can see the edge of the stairs, that they're defined. Doorways and door trim, so you can see where the doorway is very easily as you're walking down the hallway. Handrails should be defined in color. Sinks, the same way, having them the same color as the countertop, yes, gives you that wonderful look of transition, but it does not define where they are, and it improves the safety when that sink is defined. We're always putting in horizontal and accent tiles in showers and accent tiles behind your countertops. And that actual contrasting color horizontal tile or trim on the walls, the chair rail as you see in this dining room, it's a great visual reference for level and distance. If you have vertigo, if you have a horizontal line to look at, to have that visual reference, it helps you to maintain your balance. It will help you to come out of that dizzy spell. If it's just simply that you turn too fast and got dizzy, that horizontal line helps to give you reference. Again, the countertops being contrasting colors so you can see the difference between where the countertop is and the cabinet is. It helps define that edge. A minimum of 20-point difference in light reflectance value is important. And basically, light reflectance value is a scale that determines the quantity of visible and usable light that's reflected in all directions and by all wavelengths when a surface is illuminated. So when you turn the lights on, the scale actually defines and identifies how much light a color reflects or absorbs. It will either reflect 100% of the light, or it may absorb 100% of the light. And so in your color decks, many paint companies will put the light reflectance value, it'll be an LRV, on the back of your color chip. And that will help you to get this 20-point minimum difference of light reflective value in your designs. Contrasting colors on switches and light plates, switch plates, and lighting devices are very important. You know, in the 70s and 80s, Even in the 90s, we would even wallpaper the switch plates to make sure that they just disappeared into the wall. It just made it look nicer. We didn't have to look at those ugly plates. Well, the problem being is then no one could find the light switch. So at least if we have the light switch itself at a different color, then you can see it and you can locate it. Having the switch plate a different color from the wall helps, but if you make the switches themselves the same color as the plate, then it becomes difficult again to find the light switch. Ramps and walkways, ADA says 1 in 12 to 1 in 20. But in any of our international code, it is 1 to 12. So for every 12 inches horizontal, it's a 1-inch rise. Living in place says 1 to 20. And the reason why we say 1 to 20, it's much easier for a person to bring a wheelchair up a ramp, if they're doing it themselves, especially at a 1 to 20 instead of 1 to 12. US highways have a maximum slope of 1 in 20, except in mountain regions. So if a highway slope is 1 in 20, why shouldn't your ramp slope be 1 in 20? Lateral sliding doors, very often referred to as barn doors, are installed on the outside of the wall. Automatic open and close is actually available, and they have soft close. You can even have a covered track system, so the track system disappears. These are very intuitive. They're very simple to open and close for the person or a child. Door levers, the angled ends of the door levers help to keep you from catching your clothes on it, catching a bag on it. Use only that 90-degree turn end return. You have a straight lever handle, it allows the hand to slide off the end very often. And just lever handles are easy to open for everyone, whether it be an adult, a child. It's easy to open that lever handle door instead of a knob. I have a customer that their dog would open their patio door because it had a lever handle. And she got very upset when we changed that door because she couldn't open the door anymore. So it wasn't beneficial to the dog anymore. Night lights throughout the home really help people to traverse the home at night. If you use LED for low power consumption, it's a long life product. They cost just cents to operate a year, but you can also light your way through the home using these very simple lighting techniques. Even motion lighting under the bed. When you get out of bed, the light comes on underneath the bed so you can see to make your way to the bathroom. You can also put motion lights underneath the toe kick in the bathroom so it lights up underneath the base of the vanity. Lights on the staircase, lights underneath the handrails. All of these are to help throughout the home so it's easy to go through that home without falling or tripping. Sink, bathtub, shower faucets should be easy to reach. Usually the controls should not be any more than 44 inches above the floor, so it's easy to reach for everyone. Grab bars, same as a handrail, 34 to 38 inches above the floor. If you have a person who has a cognitive challenge or a physical challenge, you should be consulting a medical professional before you install any of these products because they will help you make sure you have those OTs and PTs on your team, because they assist you in making sure that these things are installed correctly when you have a person with a medical or a physical challenge. Improper installation of those grab bars, it's very important to make sure that they are installed properly. You have to make sure it's a proper wood species if you're going to use blocking. You can use bracing, you can use a wing-it type product that's inside the wall, and they can hold up to 800 pounds. Make sure you consult a structural engineer if you're going to use plywood sheeting or wood species to make sure you put these grab bars in so they are stable. You don't want one to give way, because that can be very dangerous. Using the proper fasteners, depending on the wall that you're using and the product that you're putting it into, make sure you get the correct fastener. And you don't put these fasteners in studs. Studs can give way, studs can break, and in behind showers, studs can rot. So you want to make sure that you have a fastener. You put these into showers, especially into specific mounting devices. You want to prepare for the future. Make sure that everything is there for chair lifts, for wheelchair lifts, for elevators, for a lift system. You want to allow the space, even if, and have the utilities present for your electrical, anything that you need, any footings. You want to prepare for the future so it's present, and then you can install these at a later date. They don't have to be installed right away. They can be installed later. Professionals make the difference in every home. Education with Living in Place. We have 3 pillars in our Living in Place Institute. We have the Certified Living in Place Professional, the Living in Place Associate, and the Living in Place Trade Specialist. The Certified Living in Place Place Professional is responsible for the overall design and management of the either remodel or the build. These are designers, architects, builders, contractors, medical providers, government design and construction staff, home inspectors, and other people involved can get the Certified Living in Place Professional. This is a certification. It needs to be renewed every 2 years, and this is the certification that I possess, is that Certified Living in Place Professional. The Living in Place Associate, basically these are people who provide products, they are support services. These are manufacturers, sales representatives, distributors, retailers, lawyers, financial planners, professional child proofers, real estate agents. These are the people who are the support staff, basically, and they are the Living in Place Associate. This is basically not a certification, but they do actually renew this. And then the Home Accessibility Trade Specialists, these are the tradespeople who install the products and install your designs. They're the electricians, the plumbers, the drywallers, the concrete contractors, handymen, HVAC mechanics, flooring and tile surface fabrication. These are the people who install it. You want these people certified. You want these people to have this specialist training so they understand and don't argue with you when you are telling them that you want a shelf in your pantry 20 inches off the floor. They understand why you want it 20 inches off the floor. Home accessibility trade specialist is a new certificate or a new training that is going to be starting soon. And it is really going to help those of us who are CLIP certified. But you want your people who are trained this way because they will bring you clients as well. It's not just the fact that you bring them clients, they will bring you clients because they'll say, I know someone who can make sure that your house is that CLIP certified. I have a person who will make sure that you can have your house so it's safe. So basically, what we have learned today is what living in place means. We've looked at the practical designs and how those professionals can make a difference in every home. Any questions?
Well, LaDonna, this has been really, really enlightening. And someone was just saying it was very well organized. So I'm putting that out there to you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And so, yes, there are many questions. So let's just jump right in. So we have about 15 minutes. So what company supplies the drop-down door bottom for a no threshold door?
PEMCO is one of them. That's the one that I used. There are a couple of other ones out there in the industry. I really don't know anything about the other ones, but the PEMCO drop-down door bottom, it's online. It's the only place you can buy it, really. They are wonderful, but you have to find someone in your area who can put it in the bottom of the door. But again, it's not difficult to install into the door. They just have to route out the bottom of the door.
Okay, so I'm glad that you said that because the next question here is, does the drop-down door bottom create a weather strip seal?
Yes, it does. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. We have everything from 115 degrees here to 50 below zero with horizontal snow. And yes, it does seal that door, no matter what.
Good, thank you. Let's see. Oh, here's another one about that. On the no threshold door, how do you keep water out of your house?
That drop-down door bottom does that. It actually stops the water from entering. On my screened-in porch, we had some horizontal rain a couple months ago, actually. It was before we moved in, but the door bottoms were in. And we haven't had rain for quite a while, but we had some horizontal rain that came right into that screened porch. And the floor is a tile floor, and it was pretty deep in there, actually. And water did not come in on my wood floor on either door that goes out onto there. So it does seal it.
Okay, good, thank you. Is there any worry about resale with the sink height, or is this your forever space?
Well, I'm going to be brought out of here dead.
Oh, my goodness.
So no, it's not going to make a difference on mine. But you know, I have done different sink heights for a lot of people. I had one woman who was very tall. Actually, she was 6'4", and her husband was 6'8", and their daughter was already, and she was 11. No, wait a minute, she was 13 years old, and she was already like 5'5", and their sink at 36 inches bothered all their backs. And so we actually raised their sink to 42. It really doesn't affect it. We have put in so many different heights in counters in kitchens to help people. If on the 42-inch one, we had it set up so you could just simply take the riser off of that counter, off of those cabinets, because we put a separate riser on their cabinets that brought their countertop up to 42. And if they ever wanted to sell that house, all they'd have to do is remove the countertop, take the riser out, drop the sink and the countertop down to what was actually 36 inches, and everything was fine. It could be sold very easily. That was the only one that I was worried about, was the 42-inch difference.
Okay, good. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Okay, so while you talked about toe kick earlier, while the toe kick feet are cute and bun feet are cute and fit the style, what about tripping and disrupting the toe kick area?
They are not really where you would be standing specifically. I've used the different feet on a lot of kitchens. I've never really had anybody say that it bothered them. It makes your cabinets look more like furniture. It gives a definite design. As for tripping over them, they are under the toe kick. They don't stick out. So unless you're walking strange, you won't really trip over them. But I guess they could affect where you're standing a little bit. But I've never really had anybody say anything about them.
Okay. So what you were just talking about, the risers that you mentioned, are they beneath the counter, excuse me, or the cabinet?
They are beneath the counter.
Okay.
If you put them beneath the cabinet, it makes your toe kick up much higher. And that's the way a lot of people will change the height of a cabinet, is by making the toe kick higher. You don't have to do that. If you custom build your cabinets, even if you tell the company that you want it custom built that way, if you buy your cabinets from a manufacturer, you tell them that you want your cabinet built that high and not your toe kick raised. What we did with that couple that were very tall, we didn't change their cabinets. We were changing their countertops. So we put that riser in on top of their cabinets and just built up the top of their cabinets. And there was a seam between where it was, but we put a drawer above that. So it added drawer space to their cabinets as well.
Okay, good. Let's see here. Now there's some questions. There was one here earlier on. What is the width of the basement stairway? I'm not sure where that came into play here, but.
Actually, my basement staircase, the width of that is 48 inches. And there's two staircases, by the way, to the house. One goes out of the garage into the basement. So if anyone ever wanted to finish that basement, they don't have to bring anything through the house to finish it. They bring it right in through the garage. And that basement staircase also has two handrails and is also 48. Actually, that one's about 52 inches wide.
Wow. Okay. Yes, I've been in a house where there was a person that was wheelchair bound and very wide basement staircase. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about, I think, flooring here. Does the slip resistance coating etch the finish or change the texture in any way?
Not at all. You have no idea that it's on there other than the fact you don't slip on it. I put it on one gal's shower floor because we actually used a glass shower or glass tile on her shower floor. She loved it. And she wanted it on there. And I said, well, that's fine. But I tell you, you're going to need to put this product on about depending on how many showers are taken. I said, if you start finding out that your floor is a little slick, you'll want to put this back on. You just simply pour it on, take a rag, just like you're going to put a cleaner on the floor, and let it dry. You cannot see it, you cannot feel it, but it makes it slip resistant.
Okay. So since someone was asking about bathrooms, should there be a contrast between the floor and the wall or accent tile on the base of the shower wall to differentiate from the floor to help with the reference?
You can do that. And I would advise it if you're dealing with someone particularly who has visual problems, so they can see that in the shower floor to the wall as well. As you could see in mine, I didn't. My shower floor and my floor to my bathroom and the shower wall are all the same tile. But I do have an accent stripe in there at the up above. You can sometimes use that accent stripe both at the floor and up above, so you can see that difference. Yes.
Okay. So someone's asking about the product manufacturer for the slip-resistant floor application.
Oh, there's a ton of them out there. There's
Okay.
probably 4 or 5 different ones. The one that I've used personally is Invisitread. It works well, but I know that other people have used the other different ones that I can't remember their names, but almost all of them work. They're basically the same product. I've always looked at the ingredients, trying to figure out, because I have a science background, I've been trying to figure out what they put in there that doesn't etch it, that doesn't show, that doesn't do, and it works. And they won't tell you what they put in there. So I don't know
Yeah,
what
I
it
know
is.
someone was asking about, how to clean such a surface. So,
It just normal. You just clean it like you normally would. It doesn't, it wears off after a while, but usually it's about, now I know a guy who put it around his swimming pool, and it was obviously outside on the concrete, and he said he replaces it in every spring. He puts a new coat on.
mhm, that makes sense, especially since it has outdoor usage.
Right. And rain and snow.
Right, right. So we're going to talk about code. Is there any code issue with the outlet under the sink, i.e. near the water source?
Well, it needs to be GFCI. Every time you do anything that's in a bathroom that's near the water source, you have to have them GFCI. But in code anymore, electrical code, panels have to have, the new panels all have to have ACI breakers and GFCI for the kitchens and bathrooms. So yeah, there is code, definite. But
Okay.
as long as you have a GFCI breaker or a GFCI outlet, you're fine.
Okay, let's see. I'm just looking here. Are there any preferences on countertop color or finish? And let's see, and also glare resistance.
A countertop color and finish, it's just about anything you want, really. Whatever the person is interested in. Glare resist, or the non-glare finish, I mean, I did not put a non-glare finish in my kitchen. I know that. But it does not have as much of a glare because of the colors in it. A real shiny finish, if someone has eye problems, has sight problems, a real shiny finish will cause them difficulty because of the glare coming off of it. I don't really notice a glare coming off of my kitchen countertop and my bathroom countertop. They do have a shiny finish. They're not a suede finish, but and they are both granite. And I don't really notice a glare. I think some people may. And so you want to definitely ask the person if they have problems with glare, with lighting. You definitely wouldn't want to use a real shiny finish on countertops then.
That's a good point, LaDonna. So I think earlier on you were talking about stairs, and someone said, why not put a LED light strip under each stair tread and a strip or handrail with LED light shining down at the stair tread? It's so much prettier than making it look institutional.
That was in the picture. There was actually, in that picture, there was actually a handrail with light underneath it, and underneath the stair treads at the nose of the stairs, there was lighting underneath there. And that doesn't have to be bright light, by the way. That can be LED lighting that's very dim, but is still, you can still see things.
Okay, so there was a comment here about that they really love your examples of color contrast, non-slip floor ideas, the countertop cabinet and floor colors and differences. So that someone's really liking your design. That's good. So can you recommend a brand for lateral sliding doors that have the automatic open and close feature?
Oh, no, I can't.
Okay.
They're out there though. It's just, Google it. There are multiple ones out there with the automatic door slide. And brand wise, I'm not sure at this point.
Okay.
There's so many of them out there.
Could you just restate the slip resistant coating for those extra shiny floors? Someone was asking that.
Invisitread
Invisitread. Okay.
is the one that I've used.
Okay.
There's a lot of them.
Okay. And then this person would like to know, is there any smart tech in grab bars and hand showers that are making it better for people living in place?
Not really. I mean, you want to make sure that they're not slick. If you grab them, you want to make sure that you can keep a hold of them. There's so many different companies out there making grab bars today. Wing It is a company that actually also makes grab bars that are really interesting grab bars. They even have lighted grab bars, so they're easy to see. It's just, we're finding more and more and more companies are making things more intuitive and making things that are common sense. It's sad because for so many years, design had a great flair, but some of those things didn't work. And so, like the handles on your kitchen cabinets that stick out on both ends beyond the part that actually attaches to the cabinet. They're great. They're great looking. I put them in my own kitchen. I had them for 6 months in my old house, and I took them out because I ripped so many clothes on them.
Wow.
Yes, they're pretty. They look great. They do not function well. And so it's common sense. I can say that living in place is more common sense than anything else.
Okay, that sounds good. And then I just have a couple more questions, and because we're just a couple minutes over time, but can I keep going, LaDonna?
Sure.
Okay. So someone was asking about special fasteners that will hold a bench, grab bars, etc. Did we already discuss that or not?
There's a lot of different fasteners out there. I know Delta actually sends them with their grab bars. They send the fastener that'll hold up to 800 pounds. And they're a device that goes inside the wall. There's a lot of different ones out there. Wing It makes a fastener that again goes inside the wall, and it depends on the weight rating that you want. I can tell you, no matter what it is, what one of the highest weight ratings it is if you're going to use it for someone to grab onto if they're going to fall.
Okay.
It's important that you make sure that it's going to give you a lot of shear weight coverage.
Yeah, so it sounds like that rating is really important to pay attention
It
to.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Good. So we're going to go just another question here about smart home products. How do you see them fitting into the trend with living in place, such as voice activation, motion sensors, apps, etc.?
That's all over my house. It drives my husband nuts. He's getting used to it though. He said he wants to turn his own switches on. He doesn't want to tell somebody to turn it on for him or use it in his phone. But my home is set up as a smart home, basically. We can control almost everything. In fact, our panel is one of the newest panels, our electrical panel or our load panel is one of the newest ones out there. It is Wi-Fi, and if a breaker there's certain breakers that we put in there that are also Wi-Fi. The whole panel is Wi-Fi, but there are certain breakers that are Wi-Fi that will notify us if they trip. The one for the refrigerator, the one for the air conditioner, our freezer, the oven, and my oven, my cooktop, my refrigerator are all Wi-Fi as well. If I leave the house and my oven's been on for an extended period of time, it will actually email me and say, you know, your oven is running. Do you want it to be that way? And if you don't, then I can actually turn my oven off, or I can turn my oven on using my phone. It's great. I mean, I sometimes don't like technology, but it is wonderful in your home, and it fits perfectly in living in place. If a person is wheelchair bound and they want to change their thermostat, they can do it right on their phone or on an iPad and not have to move around to do it.
Great. So I'm not sure if you discussed this. Are there any adaptations to the laundry room for living in place?
There are, depends on how, again, you want to make sure that that things are that people are able to reach the dryer and the washer and reach the controls, that they're, again, easy to use. Sometimes you want to put those up on a pedestal to make them easier to access, so you're not bending clear down to the floor to get your things out of the dryer, or these the front load washers. Sometimes up on a pedestal is easier to access. Again, it's look at it with common sense. Is this going to be easy, or is this going to be hard to use? Ask yourself that question whenever you're doing design. Is this going to be simple? Is it going to be intuitive? Or is it going to be difficult to figure out? Is it going to be difficult to use? Ask yourself that question. That's one of the most important things you can do for living in place.
That's great. And then a final question here. Someone was asking about CAPS, of course, which is the Certified Aging in Place certification. Is LIP similar to the CAPS Certified Aging in Place certification?
CLIP, well, Living in Place Institute is an educational group. CAPS, one of the biggest differences is the fact that Aging in Place talks about what happens, what is a problem, what you can look at, what you look for. It doesn't talk about how to fix the problem. Living in Place trains you how to make things work. And that's the difference. We are the solution. We solve the problems. We don't just look at the problem. Universal design defined the problem. CAPS, Aging in Place, defines the problem. Living in Place is the solution to the problem. We are constantly, every day, adding to our training manual about different things that you can do to make things work better. In fact, a lot of the pictures of my house are going to be used in the training manual now, because now we have pictures of the things that, like the outlet behind the toilet, the outlets under the counter, under the cabinets, the difference in floor color to wall color, all of those different things. The outlets 24 inches off the floor.
Okay.
Training of what to do, what to make work, instead of, well, here's the problem. We solve it.
That sounds great, LaDonna. I want to thank you for spending a little extra time with us today and for this really interesting presentation. Everyone loved the fact that you actually showed your house. And so that was really beneficial to see that from that point of view, and of course, all of your knowledge. And I want to thank Gebrit for their generous sponsorship for today's session and for all of our webinars this month. And again, LaDonna, thank you so much. I
You're
really
welcome.
have a good day.
I did put my email on there. If anyone has any questions, you're certainly welcome to contact me at any time, and I will try to answer your question. And of course, the Living in Place Institute, you can contact them and talk to them as well. And I invite all of you to become CLIP certified.
Thank you, LaDonna. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Have a great day.